And welcome back. Home prices in California just posted the biggest annual decrease going back to October of 2011. On top of that, the gains we saw in home prices in the second half of 2021 and the first half of 2022 have virtually been wiped out due to the fact that prices decreased so much in the second half of last year. In other words, the median sold price in California is flat compared to 2 years ago, based on a new report from the California Association of Realtors. In today's report, I'm going to take a deep dive into home prices at the statewide level in California, but also sharing trends at the county-wide level as well. And by the way, the California Association of Realtors tracks approximately 51 counties statewide. So I'll share some analysis regarding prices in the state by county and also by the state as a whole here. So, of course, I have a lot to share. Let's go ahead and dive right in. And by the way, this is part 2 of my 3-part video series I make for the California housing market. So let's talk about what we're seeing right now at the statewide level. So the median sold price, and by the way, today's video is based on existing single-family houses only, excludes new home construction, and of course excludes multifamily properties as well. So for the month of April, the most recent data we have from the California Association of Realtors, it's $815,340. This is actually the highest home sold price going back to last September, when at that time it was actually just under $822,000. In other words, we're seeing a seasonal uptick in our U.S. housing market, especially after the winter months. So what I really want to focus on is the changes year over year, as well as the changes month over month, and how that compares to years past. So for the month of April, compared to April 2022, it was a decrease of 7.9%. And based on my own analysis here, this is actually the biggest annual decrease going back to October of 2011. You have to go all the way back here, October 2011, because back then, prices decreased by 9.1% compared to October 2010. And by the way, these 2 columns are the only 2 columns I pulled from the California Association of Realtors website. Everything else is based on my own analysis in today's video, which I share with you guys on a monthly basis here. So let's go back here and talk about home prices. Again, down by 7.9% year over year, the biggest decrease going back to October 2011, which is just absolutely insane. Also, I looked at month over month changes. So for this month compared to March, it was a gain of 3%, a 3% gain over the last 1 month. I also want to look at what's the historical averages going back to 2010. So the average month to month change from March and April each year going back to 2010, the average was a gain of 4.1%. Therefore, this year, a gain of 3% is not too much far off the 4.1% increase historically speaking. So in other words, we're seeing a seasonal uptick in home prices like we do more or less each and every year, but it's actually a little bit below the historical averages going back to 2010. Here's another trend we're seeing right now regarding our seasonality of our housing market. So in California, so far this year, the median sold price, again, for existing single-family houses increased by 9%. That's because prices increased from $751,000 to $815,000 this April. I also want to look at the changes from last year's peak. So last year's peak was back in May 2022, of course, when the median sold price was $900,000. And by the way, that was an all-time record high. So when looking at April compared to last May, it's a decrease of 9%. And by the way, this 9% decrease compared to last year's highs is actually a lot worse than the national average, because on a national average, according to my own analysis of Redfin's data, we saw a decrease of 5% compared to last year's peak, where in California, we're down by 9%. But I also want to look at how's that compared to previous years, the change from May to April each and every year. So going back to pre-pandemic levels, or actually really right at the beginning of onset of the COVID here. So from May 2019 to April 2020, April 2020 when we had COVID lockdowns, but that was really from contracts signed in the previous 1 to 2 months before that. So before the onset of COVID, more or less. So the percent decrease from May 2019 through April 2020 was a decrease of 0.7% compared to a 9% decrease we saw from May last year to April this year. Also, when looking at 2018 and 19, May 2018 to April 2019, it actually was an increase of 0.4%. So this big decrease of 9% is much worse than that we saw back in 2018 as well as 2019. What's entirely abnormal though, or entirely different though, is the changes from May 2008 to April 2009, a decrease of 34.5%, absolutely insane. Here's what I also found out as well, because the change in prices over the past 2 years is flat, 0% growth. This is the change from April 2021 to April this year. This means the gains we saw from April 2021 to December 2021, as well as the first half of 2022, have been wiped out due to the fact that prices decreased so much in the second half of 2022. It just goes to show how much home prices decreased in the second half last year, because we have 0% growth over the past 2 years. Absolutely crazy. Now, having said that, when looking at prices compared to 3 years ago, we're still up by 34%, going from 606,000 back in April 2020. Now again, it's 815,000, an increase of 34%. Okay, that's what we're seeing at the statewide level in the California real estate market. Let's talk about each of the 7 major regions that the California Association of Realtors tracks. So these actual numbers here is what I pulled from the website here, but everything else is based on my own analysis. Everything below this right here is my own analysis. So let's talk about the LA metro area, which the Association of Realtors defines as 5 counties, which is Los Angeles, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, as well as Ventura County. So in comparing month-over-month changes, there was a 1% increase, going from 735,000 to 740,000. The Central Coast saw the biggest increase, a 11% gain month over month, going from 922,000 to just over $1 million, an 11% increase. In the Central Valley, where I live and work as a real estate agent, we saw a gain of 1%. The far north saw a gain of 8%. Inland Empire, which is defined as Riverside County as well as San Bernardino County, a gain of 2%. They also saw a gain of 2% in the San Francisco Bay Area, increasing from 1.228 million to 1,250,000, a gain of 2% there. And by the way, the San Francisco Bay Area is defined as the following counties: Alameda, Contra Costa County, Marin, Napa, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Solano, as well as Sonoma counties. In Southern California, I'm not too sure which counties are served in this region here, but a gain of 2%. Okay, let's talk about the changes from last year's peak compared to April this year. Again, the biggest decrease was actually in the Bay Area, a decrease of 19%, which equates to a decrease of $290,000, going from $1,540,000 to $1,250,000, a decrease of $290,000. That's pretty remarkable, because the median sold price in the U.S., according to the National Association of Realtors for April, was $389,000. Therefore, the decrease of $290,000 is not too much far off the U.S. national median sold price in the U.S. But this decrease of 19% is actually much better than it was 2 months ago, because when I made this video 2 months ago, when I was tracking figures in February, we saw a 32% decrease in prices compared to last year's peak. Last month, it was a decrease of 20%, and now it's a decrease of 19%. And the Bay Area, by the way, is the only region that's in double-digit territory regarding changes from the peak last year. The biggest decrease after that was actually in the far north, decreasing by 9%, a decrease of 8% in the Central Valley, and also a decrease of 8% in the LA metro area as well. So regarding home prices year over year, every single one of these major regions here has posted a decrease compared to April 2022. So for example, the Bay Area decreased by 19%, but by the way, April in the San Francisco Bay Area was actually the all-time record highs. So it makes sense. It's the same percentage change compared to the peak last year. Let's talk about compared to 2 years ago, because each of these major regions has posted a gain except for the San Francisco Bay Area. In the Bay Area, prices are down by 6%. So that's pretty crazy, right? Because compared to 2 years ago, the median sold price was $1,328,000. Now it's $1,250,000. This means the gains we saw in 2021, or for the most part 2021, as well as the gains in the first half of 2022, have been wiped out due to the fact that prices decreased so much in the second half last year. Now, having said that, it's still up by 28% compared to April of 2020. Also, for each of these major regions, even though prices are down compared to 1 year ago, in every one of these major regions here, prices have increased by more than 27% compared to April 2020. In fact, the biggest increase was in the Central Coast, a giant increase of 55%. Let's just see what that is. So the gain we saw, or the prices back in April 2020 was $657,500. Now it has increased to just over $1 million, a giant increase of 55%. And by the way, the reason why I added these two rows right here is because, yeah, it's great to see that prices decrease on a year-over-year basis. However, though, it really shows how much home prices increased so much in 2020 and 2021, because the gains are actually unreal. Gains of over 27%. Okay, let's talk about what we're seeing right now at the countywide level. I'm not going to share every single county. I will share it in the video when I scroll, but I'm not going to discuss every single one. Otherwise, this video would be 15 hours long. So let's just talk about at a high level in California, again, to kind of gauge how that compares to other counties here. So again, for the month of April, we saw a gain of 3% compared to March this year, slightly below the 4.1% average going back to 2010. Also, prices are down by 9% compared to last year's peak, which again was back in May, going from 900,000 to 815,000. Also, year over year, a decrease of 8%, and prices are flat compared to 2 years ago, but a big increase of 34% over the past 3 years. Okay, let's talk about Alameda County. So Alameda County, prices are still down 5% compared to April of 2021. Only a small increase of 19% over the past 3 years. Also, prices are flat month over month. They also saw a big decrease from last year's highs. Last year's highs in Alameda County was actually in May, going from 1.5 million to just over 1.2 million, a decrease of 20%. Compared to the statewide average, a decrease of 9%. Also look at that, a decrease of $315,000 from May last year. And by the way, here's something you guys should be aware of, that 38 of the 51 counties that the California Association of Realtors tracks reported a month-over-month increase. That represents approximately 75% of the 51 counties that they track. So on the changes from March to April this year, approximately 75% of the counties have posted an increase. Also, as I note right here, this is a seasonal uptick. It's entirely normal to see increases in prices in March and April each and every year on average. However, though, approximately 86% of these 51 counties is down compared to 1 year ago. In other words, home prices in only 7 counties in California went up from just 12 months ago. Therefore, 44 of the 51 counties they track went down or was flat compared to 1 year ago. That represents approximately 86% of all counties. So 86% of all counties in California is down or flat compared to 12 months ago. Okay, let's move on and talk about Amador County, which is in wine country about a half an hour east of Sacramento. So they actually saw an increase in prices, pretty astonishing here, because they saw a gain of 6% compared to the highs they saw back in February, when the all-time record high at that time was 449,000. So actually, there's something I just noticed here, because the all-time record high was actually set last April. This last April, 475,000 is actually the new all-time record high in Amador County. This actually really caught me by surprise just now, because most of the all-time record highs was set back in April and May of last year. So pretty unusual, but I would say that this county right here tends to have a lot of fluctuations in home prices because I'm guessing they don't have a lot of home sales, but also because you could have a property in which they have 10 acres that sold versus the month before that there was smaller properties that sold. So there could be some large fluctuations depending on the home sales that occurred in each of these months here. Also in Amador County, it's still up by 36% compared to 3 years ago. Butte County is a gain of 24%. Calaveras is a gain of 49%. Contra Costa, also in the Bay Area, they saw a decrease of 14% compared to last year's highs, going from $1,050,000 to $900,000, a decrease of $150,000. Also, a decrease of 9% from 2 years ago, going from $990,000, now that's at $900,000. Having said that, even though prices are down by 14% from last year, they're still up by 27% over the past 3 years. El Del Norte is one of these areas in which prices tend to fluctuate quite a bit. Also in El Dorado County, which is just east of Sacramento, approximately half an hour. It goes all the way to Lake Tahoe, if I'm not mistaken, though. So $721,600 is the median sold price this April, a giant increase of 15% month over month, a decrease of 4% compared to last year's highs, which in that market or that county was back in March at $750,000, down now to $721,000. A giant increase of 44% from April 2020, though. Fresno also saw a big increase of 42%, a small decrease compared to last year's highs. Glenn County also tends to have a lot of fluctuations in prices there. Humboldt is down by 9%, but still up by 38% from April 2020. Kern County is a gain of 38%. I mean, most of these markets here are up by over 25% over the past 3 years. Kings County also tends to fluctuate quite a bit. Same with Lake and Lassen. Los Angeles, going from, so last year's peak was late in the year, 891,000. Now it's 738,000, a decrease of 17%, but still up by 31% from 3 years ago. Madera is up by 31%. Marin County, a decrease of 15% from last year's highs, which was in April last year. 2.1 million, now it's at 1.8 million. Look at that, giant decrease of $322,000, nearly the median sold price in the US at $389,000. Insane. And down 15% year over year, but still up by 31% from 3 years ago. Mariposa and Mendocino counties, as well as Mono counties, also tend to see a lot of fluctuations in home prices there as well. Let's talk about Merced, up by 33%, even though it's down by 8% year over year, going from $395,000 to $365,000. What else we have here? Monterey is up by 5% year over year, and up by 44% from 3 years ago, going from $660,000. Now it's $952,000, and up by 5% year over year. Napa tends to fluctuate quite a bit as well. Nevada is a decrease of 11%, also more or less flat from 2 years ago. Orange County, down 8% year over year from 1.3 million to about $1.2 million, a decrease of $100,000 from the peak last year as well. The peak last year was in April last year. So in Placer County, just east of Sacramento, which includes Roseville and Rockland, all the way until North Lake Tahoe, a decrease of 12% from May 2022, a small increase of 4% over the past 2 years. Plumas County, look at that, down 20% compared to 2 years ago. What is going on there? If you guys live there or have any insight, let me know. $400,000. Now it's only $319,000. That's wild. Wonder what's going on there. I'm guessing there might be a lot of fluctuations here. Yeah, look at that. 395, 350, 305. And yeah, 475. The month before that was 380. So this is one of these counties in which they see quite a bit of fluctuations. Riverside, decrease of 2% year over year, but still up by 41% over the past 3 years. Absolutely insane. Sacramento, we saw a 3% increase month over month, going from 500,000 to 515,000. We're down by 11% compared to May last year, from 580, now it's at 515,000, down 10% year over year, and a small increase of 5% over the past 2 years, and still up by 29% from April 2020. San Benito, that's also fluctuates quite a bit. San Bernardino, a decrease of 9% compared to April 2022, but still up by 38% over the past 3 years. San Diego is also a gain of 39%, down 5% year over year, also down by 5% compared to the peak. So yeah, year over year changes here. 975, now it's at $930,000. San Francisco, giant decrease of 23%, going from just under 2.1 million. Now it's at more or less $1.6 million, a decrease month over month, going from 1.7, now it's at 1.587 million. Giant decreases here. Look at this. Wow. Okay, this is the only area here that I noted where prices are down compared to 2020. That's absolutely insane. So from April 2020, the gains we saw for the most part in 2020, for all of 2021, as well as the first half of 2022, were wiped out due to the fact that prices have decreased so much ever since. When was the peak here? The peak was set back in April 2022. So prices have been tanking ever since then, going from, just under 2.1 million, decreased all the way until we hit right there. The trough was in January this year at 1,385,000. So that's absolutely insane, right? Over the past 3 years, all the gains we've been seeing have been wiped out. In fact, it's actually lower compared to April 2020. April 2020 was at $1.7 million. Now it's at 1.587. Absolutely insane. Giant decrease of $472,000. I'm mind-boggling since April last year. Absolutely insane. San Joaquin Valley or San Joaquin County, a decrease year over year of 6%, but still a gain of 32% over the past 3 years. Giant increase in San Luis Obispo, gain of 54% since April 2020. San Mateo, also a big decrease of 18% from last year's highs, $2.4 million. Now it's just under $2 million, but still up by 20% from 3 years ago, unlike San Francisco, down by 7%. That's absolutely insane. Anyways, can't get over that. Santa Barbara also tends to see these giant fluctuations in prices. So I won't go over that. Santa Clara down by 9%, also down by 9% from 2 years ago as well. Santa Cruz saw a big decrease of 16% from last year's highs, which was in March 2022, going from 1.6 to $1.35 million, an increase of 7% over the past 2 years, but a giant increase of 42% from April 2022. What else do we have here? Sonoma, a gain of 8% over the past 2 years. Sutter, a decrease of 2%. Tehama, also quite a bit of fluctuations there as well. Ventura County, decreased by 7% from April 2022 and more or less flat over the past 2 years. Saw a gain of 31% over the past 3 years. Yolo, also a gain of around 32%. Yuba saw a gain of 36%. For condos, before I wrap up this video, because I don't want this video to be super long. So condos, the median sold price this April was $635,000, a 4% increase month over month, but down 9% from the all-time record highs, which was set back in April at $700,000, but still up by 30% over the past 3 years. So what's your biggest takeaway from today's video? Mine was San Francisco, which I actually just noticed as I was filming this video here. I mean, I just cannot believe how prices are down 7% over the past 3 years, whereas the statewide average is a gain of 34%. Absolutely insane. Anyways, I hope you guys appreciated this video. Hope you guys got some value out of this video. And of course, if you did, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Of course, I appreciate you. Hope you guys have an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.